It's bigger. It's louder. It's better than ever. This still isn't your typical motorsports podcast. This is the 10th anniversary of Crush This, a monster truck podcast brought to you by J Concepts. For 10 years, your hosts, the monster truck Canucker Bradshaw and Dan Chichagash, have brought you into the minds and personalities of the monster truck industry. Strap in and hold on tight. This is Crush This!
Hey, welcome to another episode of Crush This, a Monster Truck Podcast. It's presented by J Concepts. If you actually look at my background, I got two new trucks representing the J Concepts brand. Got my Monster Truck Team t-shirt here, and I just debuted this sucker right here. I created this one. So we'll go which each one here, but this is the Lone Ranger old school monster truck that I recreated to look like Gary Bauer's old Lone Ranger truck back in the 80s that competed. Put it right there. It has the Ford Ranger body on it from J Concepts. The 73s that J Concepts has with the 73 rims. It also has the regulator chassis that J Concepts sells. It has the silent turn motors, 27 silent turn motors on it. So if you go to J Concepts at .net, go to the checkout aisle. While you get your stuff, go use Crush This at the website, and you get yourself 15% off. I'm still recovering from a cold. 15% off the items itself. This truck, if you type in the 1984 brick nose body, this is the exact body that is on the website. If you go to J Concepts, that's his exact body truck that you get, the Virginia Giant. And has the Renegade tires, tribute rims, but I made it more modern day like what Cliff has today. I still got the roll bar, and I can make this into a retro, but this is strictly a pro mod right now, and it's going to be a pro mod for this year just for 3 events. But when it's not racing as a pro mod, it becomes a freestyle truck. So that's what this truck is a racing truck, but the body will go on another chassis soon. So it will be on actually a warpath in the future. So this chassis itself, the LMT, will be a freestyle body truck for whatever, or be another identity for whatever it is, because the truck itself, the body itself, is more for racing and stuff. So we'll be on a warpath chassis. I'm in a process of getting myself another Pro C freestyle chassis. So that will be on whatever truck that will be at. But until then, this will be on it until after. It will be on it after July. There's another truck that I'm coming out with that's going to be on the warpath that will be getting ready to run for a future event in the summertime. But that's about for the RC stuff right there. But outside of that, like I said, go to jconcepts.net, get 15% off, and go from there. Got some big news too with that. So you see a commercial that you see on hey, hello guys, hello, on Back Channel Productions when you see their shows. Monsters Monthly just added on us. So if you follow that group on that webpage, our episodes will be on that website. So when you go in there and check a look of your up-to-date stuff and go from there, it will be on there. monstersmonthly.com/crush this. It's going to be the only kind of podcast on that format. So when you follow Monster Trucks Monthly, go take a look at that and enjoy your time at that portion of it. Listen to, if you haven't listened to the podcast, that's another domain. Welcome. Go ahead, do that too. Next week's guest, as of right now, is going to be another episode. We're going to do, so it's kind of crazy that Mark is our first back-to-back part 2 guest, which is pretty cool. But this gentleman is going to be our guest next week, and we're going to do another part 2. It's Mike Welch. You guys had really good numbers helping us gain this episode. Right now, we are planning on having him back next week for another good episode, and we will have him on too. So Mike Welch, that is the P.O. Box to go send if you want to help him out, donate money to the Super Pete, and get his modern day monster truck ready to go, the Peterbilt itself. Go show some love. Also, I see that you guys have been showing us some love for our spread shop. Got this Crush This hat. Go ahead and take a look at that. We got some t-shirts, stickers, mugs. So help support the podcast itself. It really helps us out. And thank you for that. Also, thank you for all the 5-star likes and reviews on iTunes and Spotify. And also listening to our podcast and watching it on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Please comment, like, subscribe to our YouTube. I've been doing my vlogs. Follow that. Also on iTunes, on Spotify, put our plus button, follow our podcast and everything you do, guys. Thank you for that, and keep the podcast growing. Like I said, please like, subscribe, share, take a screenshot of this episode if you watch it on Facebook and on YouTube. Screenshot this, tag me, Brad, Mark. Mark is also on Facebook. So if you tag him saying you're watching that, that's pretty cool stuff going on right now. So go ahead and show some love. I am going to currently do this. And I am going to tag the episode, and go ahead and go and watch that episode right now. I'm be doing that while we're showing some commercials. So show some love. Thank you for what you guys have done. Also, this book is awesome. Bryce Kenny. It's geared for life. The book, Making the Shift into Your Full Potential. I listen to the audio. I have the book digitally. Brad does too. It's a wonderful book, pretty good. It's about, if you listen to the book itself, it's about a good 5-hour road trip. So if you have a 5-hour road trip, you can listen to this book from page 1 all the way to the end, and it helps you through all his stories that he goes through when he loses his job, that he thought was the end of it, his IHRA career, his Monster Jam career, all the way to the speed run that he did in 2020 to break the world record. He has everything that you need to help you pursue what you need to do and push yourself to the goal and not give up. So go there. It's on Amazon.com. Take a look, screenshot also, take a picture of it, send it to Bryce, because he likes that stuff. So go show some love on that. Bryce Kenny's Geared for Life. So there we go. So once again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and thank our other sponsors here and all that jazz. One thing that is cool is that truck right there, Lone Ranger, is not going to be a retro league truck. It's built a little bit scale wise. So it's, it will turn like a dinosaur. It will do what it needs to do for the action and camera work that Colby does for MTRC. It's an MTRC truck. That's what I made it for. That what it is a scale version, RC scale version of that. I already have 2 trucks that pretty much race for Trigger King, Off-Road Track, Schroeder's Racing, different groups around the United States that will run it. So that truck is mostly, this truck is my freestyle truck that I'll be running, but the body itself I will run that as a racing truck. But outside of that, we're going to thank our other 2 sponsors with that's coming up. And then we'll have part 2 with Mark Schroeder and have Brad on too. So here we oh yeah, we have to do 3 ads. It's okay. We gotta thank also Monster Truck Attitude. Also, me, Brad, Austin, and Gene are gonna run for this week, starting to Thursday Night Thunder, and like I said, right here. So we'll start it off with our sponsors and go from there.
Are you ready to get in on the action here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel? Look no further. Head over to Facebook where you can sign up for all the great events we host right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Be sure to sign up for the events and register your name and get locked in with a monster truck of your own and get ready for the great thrills and spills right here on the MTA YouTube channel. Again, find us on Facebook, register for these events, and you soon will be competing in all the great events. We hope to see you there. And get ready for the wild and crazy action. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a beat right here on the Monster Truck Attitude YouTube channel.
And what is going on, guys? We are back with a brand new episode, live this time with the one and only Mark Schroeder. Mark, thank you for coming on. Just got one quick little announcement to make here. So as many of you guys know, I'm based here in Western Canada, and I'm excited that Crush This is going to be working with the Outlaws of Motorsports group out here in Western Canada. Cheech has done some stuff with them with their RC division over the last little while, and I'm excited. I messaged them a couple days ago, and I'm going to be heading down to their event in Edmonton, Alberta at the end of the month. So if you guys are around there, I'll be in my Crush This crew shirt. I'm hoping to have some stickers and stuff made before that event. If you see me, I'll hand you a sticker and come hang out. But yeah, the last episode we had with you, the pre-recorded, did very well, Mark, and fans wanted you back on. So here we are. And you know, that first episode, you know, we talked about, you know, your beginnings with Devastator, and there's so much more to get into. And I think the best way we need to get to start is the Speed Channel stuff. You know, we talked a little, believe we talked a little bit about that in the last episode, but to kind of refresh everybody's brains, how did that kind of opportunity come along to join the Speed Channel crew on their TV broadcasts?
Well, I'll try and shorten it as best as I can. I know our time is limited, you know, really serendipitously, and so much as up at Brandon at the off-road race, Jeff and Jocelyn Perrin, Dan Evans, myself. I think there was 3 or 4, I don't remember. But anyway, unbeknownst to me, we were doing a Friday night show there. I knew that, of course, but I did not know that a gentleman by the name of Bill Easterly, who is with the United States Hot Rod Association, which is now Monster Jam and Feld Entertainment, and he came up to me and said, "I didn't know you're an announcer." And I said, "I'm really not an announcer. We're just trying to make things happen and make it look really cool." So I had done some stuff with Jeff and Jocelyn, and hey, shout out to Jeff and Jocelyn. I know you're out watching today. Miss you guys. And so I went down to the office, down to Monster Jam's office, and met with the powers that be, and they asked if I would like to give it a shot, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And so they brought me in with Ken Stout and with Scott Douglas, and kind of the rest is history. It was a great gig. It was a lot of fun. Got to do a lot of really cool things and be a really big part of Monster Jam, bigger than I already was. So it was awesome.
So when you doing the Speed Network, you were also a popular Monster Jam truck and driver. I mean, you toured around the country doing the small arenas, big stadiums. How did you, let's say, pick your brain a little bit. So you go to, let's say you do a show at Indianapolis and your next show is Des Moines, Iowa. So how do you fit that? And based off the damages that you had with Devastator, how did you mix? I mean, how did you mix everything in with going to do then audio wise for, the shows that are coming out for Speed?
Well, it was real simple. I, along with just about every independent monster truck owner there is out there, we created the 8-day work week. And, we just literally worked 8 days in a week, 24 hours a day. It was nuts. And, we did what we had to do, work long nights, long days, travel long nights. Show would get done. We'd travel to the next event. I might park my rig at the next event, whether it be in Des Moines or Indianapolis or what have you. I might drive back to Chicago and do the voiceover in the studio. If it's further away, like on the West Coast, I would have to leave my rig somewhere, maybe at the next event, and then fly back. And man, I racked up a lot of flight miles in 10 years, let me tell you, and a lot of windshield miles for sure.
That surprises me because, like, especially you mentioning, recording in Chicago, because I know Speed Channel was based in North Carolina, and I'm assuming that Monster Jam did all their own in-house production with that statement with you going to Chicago. Okay, and did you guys get any going into like a recording session? This is kind of something I've always wondered, even with other shows that are like pre-recorded and then you guys do your commentary. Sure. Do you guys know kind of the results or what's going to happen? Or is when you guys were recording it, your guys' reactions, based on this is the first time you're seeing this footage?
So for me, that was the case. Scott Douglas, because he was the play-by-play, he had to kind of know a little bit about what was going on and maybe the end results. For me, I didn't want to see any part of the show. I didn't want to see any part of the opening, any part of the tease. I didn't want to see the results. I didn't want to see anything, because originally he said, well, we'll send you a DVD of the show that we cut. You can preview it, and that way you know what you're up against. And I thought, for the purposes of being really authentic and really live, as best as possible, I wanted all of my reactions to be as best as they could be, as if I were there actually seeing it live. I didn't want to already know that Dennis Anderson was going to win, Tom Mentz was going to, roll over for the 15th time, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't want to know any of that. I wanted to see it all fresh. And so that's how it worked for me, is I would go into the studio, they would, would get everything ready. And of course, Scott and I would stand by each other. We had this teeny tiny little studio that was super cool. And we had a nice video monitor, and we sat there, and they opened the show with the tease, and they started just like you guys did, opening your show. And we went right into the show, and whether I was doing introductions or Scott was doing introductions, or we shared them, and that's how it went. And everything that I saw whenever I did a show where we had to put it in the can to send it down to Speed, it was raw emotion for me.
So how many episodes? So they say, okay, I dropped my rig off at Des Moines, I'm heading to Chicago.
Yeah.
So that whole day, obviously, do you do multiple episodes?
We tried. So sometimes we would do a stint of 2 days. Typically, it was just 1 day, and we try and squeeze in 3 1-hour shows in that 1 day. Pretty difficult to do, because you can imagine there are some retakes, not too many. We're pretty lucky with that. You can't do a retake when it's live, so you just pretend that it's live if it's not, and don't do any retakes. Don't say any bad words, and don't snort, and you'll be all right. So, we just let it wing. Lots of times we would do 3 shows. Other times we would do 2 days, and go a little bit easier on us, so the production team would have 4 shows for us to do in that 2-day period. And it worked out pretty good. Usually we would do a Monday and Tuesday, or a Tuesday and Wednesday, or just a Tuesday, So it worked out really well, but it was a lot of work and a lot of hustle. And, Scott Douglas was, of course, he was live at other events, or he might be live at the same stadium I was at, or same, small arena, or that sort of thing. And, so it was busy season, man, the first quarter, but a lot of fun and well worth it. I'd do it all over again. I loved it. It was a blast.
So with some of those events when you and Scott are at the same event, would they be like, hey guys, we want to kind of do some live pre-tapes or live kind of like trackside kind of things? Would they do that kind of stuff with you guys?
Right. Absolutely. We did a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the stuff that we did live, if we were in the booth at the stadium, sometimes I wouldn't have my truck at a big event. We're at Raven Stadium in Baltimore. I was just out there for the live event. And so we would do a lot of the stuff live, and a lot of that would make it, as long as the audio was good, it would make it to the final, final cut to be aired on Speed. So, and if we didn't do, if it was, you had too much background noise or things like that, we would be in a booth and maybe calling the show at the same time. And so that worked out really good, having both of us live. There were some shows that we did live that we took cuts from, that I was actually mic'd up in the truck, and I was doing announcing from inside the truck, communicating with Scott Douglas while I was driving. And, that takes 3 hands, and that's an extra day in the week. So then it's 9 days in the week. So yeah, it's pretty nuts. A lot of fun, man. It's crazy to see, I had no idea what production was like. I had no idea what you had to do to make an hour-long television show, and the amount of work that the videographers and the hundreds of hours that they would bring in to cut down to, well, I guess, 42, 45 minutes to make a hour-long TV show was absolutely incredible. And their editors were amazing. I mean, that you guys are doing that on, maybe a little bit smaller scale, but you're doing that too. And, it's a lot of work, a lot of back and forth. Oh, can't do that for that second. But man, the end result, those guys were incredible. What a great TV show.
And, coming around too, plus outside of that, you guys are doing the World Finals too. You guys had episodes that you guys had to do after the Monster Jam season. So was it,
right?
Did you have to treat the Monster Jam season a little bit different than, like, you say, if you do Ionia, Michigan for Throwdown, or Michigan Monster
Sure.
Tour and stuff like that? So
Sure.
in the summertime, I'm thinking that the schedule was just a little bit lighter, as in audio or doing Speed Network stuff. But how did you fit the summertime stuff with the Speed Network deal too?
Cheech, it really wasn't a little bit lighter, because they would videotape. They got into the production of doing arenas, and they would do other stadiums, maybe in May and June, or maybe one in August. They would do overseas in Europe. So for me, I would have my summertime schedule, maybe doing Ionia or things like that, which were super cool. And either I would stop, on my way through, when I lived in Milwaukee, on my way through Chicago, I would stop, go over to the studio, and they'd schedule around my schedule as best they could. And, of course, most of my stuff was still on the weekends, some was during the week. But yeah, even in the summertime, we were doing voiceovers and we were doing production, to make the whole season last, almost the entire 12 months out of the year. So, the first quarter was super busy, and they wanted to get some of the new stuff out there as soon as possible. But, and then it got stretched out, it wasn't every week, like it was in the first quarter, but it still continued on throughout the entire summer. And then they would do specials and all that sort of stuff too. So yeah, it was, there was a lot of shows that we did. Indeed.
So I got a question from one of my buddies who just sent me this, and it's kind of an interesting question. My buddy Brett, he says, back in Phoenix 2011, I think during freestyle, what came into fruition with driving with a microphone attached to you? It sort of sounded like you were in the broadcast booth, just in a different room. Was that true, or is there a story behind, you doing a freestyle and commentating it at the same time?
Yes, so that is true. That Phoenix show, that was, I don't remember which one it was. I know we did one in the World Finals in Vegas too. But that one in Phoenix, that was recorded. I had a mic inside my helmet, and I had earphones, with radio communication with the production crew. And so basically what they wanted me to do is kind of talk through what I was going through. There was an edit there, if my memory serves me right, because I said some bad words. and because I made a wrong turn, and I knew I made a wrong turn, and so some bad words slid out of my mouth, and so we had to dub that. So the first 70% of it was live, and the faux pas of 25% had to be redone, and they did their best to blend it so it didn't sound like it was. But the truth of the matter is, back there in Phoenix, that is what happened.
Yeah, we'll get some more questions towards the end of the episode and stuff like that. But is there a particular event that you remember that stuck to your head that you were in, that you did a live episode in, that you weren't racing but you were announcing or helping Scott out?
Boy, I hate to say they all run together because that's not really true. Giving it some, just right off the top of my head, the very first time I did the World Finals in Vegas, I had never been, one, a live event announcer, two, a post-event announcer or commentator, and I kind of got, threw into the fire right away. And fortunately for me, it just worked, and I was excited because I was at the World Finals. I was with all of my peers. I was in Las Vegas at Sam Boyd Stadium, places I was at a place that I paid money while I was at a show in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to watch live on DirecTV when they were broadcasting it. I'll never forget that. We were in Chattanooga, and the entire monster truck crew, I was the only one with a satellite dish. And so we were watching the World Finals live at our event from Chattanooga. And so now I'm there myself live. I've got my own cameraman, and I have to learn the ropes now, like right now. Here you go, Mark, you're live. Don't screw it up. And it was so fun for me being able to talk to all of my friends and all of my peers, and they respected me and allowed me to politely criticize them, if I will, without making a frenemy and not pissing anybody off. And they respected the fact that I had a job to do. I respected the fact that they had a job to do. And that particular weekend was so amazing because my cameraman would do anything. And I had talked to Dennis Anderson as he was sitting in Thunder Alley waiting to go out for freestyle. And Dennis and I are friends. And man, I said, hey, can I come up and talk to you in the truck? He's like, are you serious? I said, yeah, it's going to be live. He goes, yes, along with some other colorful adjectives. So I climbed right up in the truck with him, literally maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes, maybe one or two trucks before he went out to do freestyle, and got to do a live shot right there, not only for Sam Boyd Stadium, but then that got aired in the World Finals when it hit speed in the TV show. So, that really stands out for me. And then the following years, of course, being up on stage and not being the pit reporter and being a part of the whole grandiose of things was, truly an honor. I'm just some dork that was born and raised in a tiny town in Wisconsin that thought he'd build a monster truck, and here I am. I'm on television. Really? That's weird.
Another cool kind of World Finals thing. I don't know what year it was, but you got to take a pass down that track in a Gravedigger chassis. I'm pretty sure that. How was that experience? And what was the kind of conversation? Be like, hey, we want to put you in one of these trucks, do kind of a pass, and how did that all come about? Because I think that's really cool.
Well, it was super cool. We had talked about it pre-production, and at the time, Brian Welch was kind of in charge of that, along with Mike. Oh Lord, Mike, you're going to kill me for not remembering her last name. I get stage fright. Sorry, Mike Wells. Thank you. And so they talked about it, and then Bill Easterly got involved and said, I want you to take this truck. We want to do that cool thing like miking you up, like you talked about, like you did up in Crandon. We want to do that sort of thing. We want you to announce from the truck. We want the fans to get a feel for what it's like for an announcer / monster truck driver to go drive the Vegas track. So again, baptismal by fire, man. They threw me in the truck. They threw me in Chad Tigler's truck. So of course, the seat was a little bit out of adjustment, wasn't great. And, Chad and I had worked the whole first quarter together, side by side, doing shows. He was in Gravedigger. Of course, I was in Devastator. And, we have the utmost respect for each other with our equipment. And Tingler told me, he said, listen, this truck is not as fast as yours. It doesn't have the motor that yours has got. So go out there and hammer on it, but please don't trash it. I've got to do a display on Tuesday, the following week after Vegas over in California. And then in my other ear, I have the devil's advocate saying, which was Bill Easterly saying, I don't care what you do. I don't care how much damage you do. You go out and you tear the hell out of that truck. You have a blast. This is your one and only opportunity to drive that company truck. I don't give a crap what you do to that truck. Let her rip. And I was like, I'm torn, because that's every independent's dream, is to go out and tear up a company truck and not have to pay for it. But I felt like I'd be tearing up my friend Chad Tingler's truck, and he'd have to do all this work, and I'd just walk away and catch a flight home. So I tried to do a nice medium pass, and that went well. And we went to do another pass, and the rear steering acted up, so I couldn't make it around the turn. So it turned out all right. It could have turned out better. I'm glad I didn't roll over the truck and trash Tingler's truck, and I'm glad that Mr. Leaserly was happy, and it was all good. It was a lot of fun, and I think the fans liked it. And hey, man, I got to say, I got to drive a Gravedigger truck in the World Finals, at the World Finals. Not bad.
Not bad at all. Now, you drove Tingler's truck then. Was that 14, or was that his new CRD? I think that
probably
14, right?
would have been. That would have been 14. I can't even tell you what day it is, Cheech. So
Okay.
you want me to remember when the hell that was? I would say yes.
I was wondering, because I didn't know. I didn't know. How did you like driving the Patrick chassis, though? I know you had your own, and you also had your Pablo, which that race source is pretty stout, but getting a chance to drive other types of chassis too, just to maybe not just saying, oh, this one's better or that one's better, but just to pick your own mind, Brian, saying, okay, this truck feels interesting. I want to have that feel in my truck. Did you ever experiment with that? And how was the experience of driving that chassis during that run in the World Finals?
Right. Well, with all due respect, that truck was old. It had been through a lot. My truck was not that old at that time, and Tingler was right. I had a lot more motor. I had a big motor, and my motor guy is pretty special, and we had some pretty special motor combinations, and I had a lot of power that didn't hail in comparison. That digger truck just didn't have it. The only reason that digger truck was as fast as it was is because the driver, Chad Tingler, was outstanding, and he knew exactly where to put that, throttle pedal, and it was always wide open. He warned me. He says, this truck lands like a brick. And I really didn't want to believe that, because I'm like, I feel like my truck lands like a brick. And, I spent a lot of time working on our suspension and getting it right. And Pablo helped me make my suspension amazing. And it never did land like a brick. It was just, I was kind of a candy ass when it came to driving it. And we had it set up for doing big jumps. And the bigger area you hit, the smaller it was. So in short, when I drove Tingler's truck and come across the finish line, it wasn't as impressive in the landing, wasn't as impressive in the handling as my truck was. Maybe it was because I'm used to my truck and I wasn't super comfortable in Chad's truck at the time. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But of the handful of trucks I've driven over the years, I really like my truck, But you spend a lot of time on your own truck getting used to it and setting it up for what you like in your style of driving. So it was a great experience.
The World Finals, I still think, no matter where it is such a legendary event. But, talk about those Vegas years, because I never got to go to the Vegas World Finals. I remember watching the very first one on pay-per-view, and my first World Finals was just this past year in Los Angeles. But just what made, do you think it was the combination of the city, and just the whole Vegas vibe, or what made those years in Vegas just so memorable that fans still just think about those epic moments, all the years that happened there?
Well, there's a lot of things that came into play, I think, that made it so epic. One, the venue. To the setup of the venue, starting at Thunder Alley, outside the stadium, coming around through the chicane, down the straightaway, around the hook. That was exciting racing. That was like old school racing. The amount of trucks that were there, my God, some 100 trucks, 75 trucks. The event was electric. They spared no expense when it came to the live event stage and all the things that were going on and all the drivers that were there, doing autographs for the fans and everything that was happening there. But, this sounds a little cliche, and I definitely don't mean it that way in any way, shape, or form. But what made that show and those shows at the World Finals so much more special by just a skosh. It was the fans. Those fans are the true diehard super fan that spend their hard-earned money, that come from Bangor, Maine to go all the way out to Las Vegas. They come from the UK. They come from Europe. They come from all over the country, from South America. They come from everywhere in the world because this is what excites them the most. And all their excitement just bled from their pores into all the drivers that were for racing and for freestyle and for displays and to talking to the fans. Meeting those people, and I know that wasn't some 70,000 seat stadium or wherever. I think it was, if my memory serves me right, maybe in the 30,000 plus range, something like that. But man, it just felt like you were performing in front of the whole world. If that's what it feels like to be a rock star, if that's what it feels like to be John Bon Jovi or Gene Simmons or legendary country music players, George Strait, if that's what it feels like, that's incredible. No wonder they love it so much. It just fuels your fire, man, whether it be Vegas or not. I think it was the fans.
So we got a question by Kurt Nagy. Who were some people that you lined up against that you really wanted to beat the most?
Well, Kurt, thanks for your question. Who I wanted to beat the most, it would be absolutely everybody that I lined up against. I was friends with 98% of the people that we raced against, and we would hang out, we would barbecue, we would have fun, our families would be together, and when the helmets went on, and I know, again, cliche, but, game on. Every single person I wanted to race, I wanted to win against. Now, of course, you have your Dennis Andersons, you have your Tom Mentz, you have your elites, you got your Jimmy Kohlers, you got your Jocelyn Perrins, who I loved racing. We raced so much together. We had such a blast together, and I can't tell you the good times that we had, win, lose, or draw. They were the best. I remember a particular freestyle in Atlanta when I first got the Pablo chassis, the Racehorse chassis, and my freestyle was what I thought was outstanding. By today's standards, it was pretty ho-hum, but by then it was great, and I stayed in first place in the lead until Tom Mentz busted me out of first place by 1 point or 2 points. They always left that little bit for a little bit of room for someone else, and he squeaked by me. And I can tell you right then and there, I wanted more than anything to take that freestyle win at the Georgia Dome over Tom Mentz, but it didn't happen. I took second place, and I was congratulated by Tom Mentz. That's a win.
So, the modern days of monster trucks, it is absolutely absurd. You see, what Ryan Anderson did this weekend in Tampa, the big air to the save to the sidewalls. What is your take on the modern stuff, especially like even just the technology, the young drivers coming up? Like what do you think of the current state of monster trucks as it is right now?
Well, I think each and every one of these new drivers that are coming up, and the ones that have been here, the Adam Anderson, Ryan Anderson, Blake, all these people that are the new young guns. I don't think they're human. I think they're AI controlled. I think that they're complete robots. I just think there's a robot inside that truck, because I just don't think a human can really do those things. They are superhuman to me. I do watch it. I watch it on Facebook. I watch it on YouTube. I've tuned in a couple of times on YouTube to watch some of these shows live, and then of course you see the highlights, during the week. And what these kids are doing today, this group of new drivers and the group of drivers that just started when I was ending, they're absolutely freaking incredible. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they can walk away from some of these crashes and know that they're actually standing on their feet instead of walking on their head. It's incredible to me, which again is a testimonial to the safety of these trucks, the suspension of these trucks, how well they work, and the helmets, the restraint systems, the HON systems, the R3s. These drivers are incredible. I'm really envious, and would have definitely loved to have been able to do that myself 20 years ago. We just didn't have the stuff.
And let's just, I just posted I'm posting a photo here too. I thought it was pretty cool. You're talking about today's, here we go. Today's world. I mean, let's go here and show you, the cool thing is, I mean, look, that's a background photo. I'm still getting new to this, Brad. Which photo?
You got to put it on the overlay.
Overlay. There we go.
Yes.
I just made it to a background photo. But we'll get to the sell of the truck and to two great guys that was racing when you were racing too. But I mean, how cool do you say, knowing that your truck that you had since 2004 was racing on these type of competitive tracks that you see all these guys doing crazy stuff, the arenas, the stadiums and stuff like that. I mean, that got to be a proud moment for you, knowing how durable and reliable this truck that you got from Pablo Hellfaker back in 2004 still also running the day, doing other events around the country.
Right. It absolutely is. Aaron is piloting that truck now, and he's doing a great job, racing all over the country, and the truck is holding up well. And, that's a testimonial to Pablo Hellfaker and Racesource of what type of quality material he actually builds. And, that truck was ahead of its time. That suspension was ahead of its time. And it was a learning curve, literally every weekend, changing something in the shocks, changing something in the valving the shocks to get that truck to be able to do the things that it could do. And it's ironic that you asked that. I just had a conversation with someone I met today that came out to my shop. He bought a old Dodge truck bed I had, and he did some research. I call it stalking, but it's research on Facebook to find out if I was legit selling this thing. And he said, "Oh, I see you're in, Monster Jam and Monster Trucks and this, that, and the other thing." And he was all excited. He says, "Oh man, I've seen you perform all over the country for 20 plus years, and it's so awesome to meet you and everything else." And we had that conversation about the fact that truck was able to go to big stadiums. And, let's be real, I'm not going to toot my own horn here. I was definitely not the greatest, but I was able to survive, with some of the biggest names in the business and compete, at least in racing and, maybe a little bit in freestyle. I'm not that great. I wasn't that crazy in it. I was pretty conservative. I was paying my own bills, man. And that, that's kind of dependent on your throttle and your performance was depending on, how crazy you wanted to be and how much money you wanted to go into debt at the time. So,
power wheelie looked pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I started doing those power wheelies, and then Jimmy Creighton was doing them, and that truck would really hook good. I had a good set of 10-ply Firestone big cleats, and I back cut them like a tractor pulling tire, and I actually got those from my great friend Jeff Perrin as well. And I cut those, and I tell you, on sticky clay. That reminds me, that shot looks like it could have been from Des Moines many a years ago during intro. But nonetheless, on good sticky clay, that could do a power wheelie, with my good stout motors. It'd lift the front end on the truck and drag the tailgate right off it if you wanted to. It was a lot of fun to drive.
The photo was from Milwaukee, 2009.
My hometown.
It looked like the lineup was Rap Attack, Nightmare, Gravedigger, Full Bore, yourself. Let's see here. Joe Lowe was announcing.
Oh, God bless Joe Lowe.
Well, I got a photo here I want you to see. And
I just want to comment one thing on this picture. Rap Attack, Devastator, and Nightmare all in one picture. That is just awesomeness.
How about
in a
that?
Picture.
Right? There's some history right there.
I know Elliot Miller. Elliot Miller would be like just frothing over this photo if it was a better if Rap Attack was more in the picture, because that man loves Rap Attack so much.
He has a love affair with that chassis like none other.
this photo is part of the group too, and it looks like these guys are your crew members.
Yeah, those are my two best buds. That's my good buddy Bob Price and his son Steven on the right. And Bob and I met in a store called Blaine's Farm and Fleet. I was going through some rough times, and this strange dude walks up to me and he said, "Hey, are you Mark Schroeder?" I said, "Yes." And the guy promptly turns around and walks away. I'm like, "What the hell? What are you, a hitman or something?" I was going through divorce at the time, and I was kind of bitter, and I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" So I'm like, hey, what's your deal, man? Who are you? He introduced himself, and we've been best friends since. That's 25 years ago. And he was on the road with me almost every single weekend for 10 years. He had a great job that he had a lot of vacation, and he didn't do anything with vacation time. And him and his son will go with me, but Bob went with me damn near every single weekend. It was amazing. He's truly a great friend.
I gotta say something about this picture here. Open headers on a modern day Monster Jam track. Yes, please.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, they're
monster
just
trucks loud again.
Nothing makes me happier. And I wanted to ask you this. You've done a lot of different shows, even with Dennis. How loud were his 1-2 shifts when he was going up for like a freestyle and stuff? Like, that's one thing that I missed that I never got to experience live, is that Dennis Anderson just like, how was that live?
It probably hurt my ears equally as much as it hurt his motors, because he'd fire that bitch up and just mat it, and off he would go and run 2 gears at 9 million RPM. But yeah, man, when he had the zoomies on it, the straight pipes, it was loud. It was sweet. It was sweet. You don't want to be standing next to it when he burned out off the concrete and hit the dirt, because it'd rip your eardrums open, but it's worth it.
It was I have a screen here. But talking about, we talked about earlier about how Elliot Miller had his love with Rap Attack and all that jazz, but his also love is producing the Monster Truck Throwdown Company. And
yeah, man,
in the early stages of Midwest Monster Trucks, Michigan Monster Trucks, it was you, Perrins, Kohler. I will go here on present your screen here, and just wanted to, how being one of those guys that have started the foundation of pretty much, to some people, the most popular summertime independent promoter out there. Their videos, their promotion, their social media is outstanding. I was with them. We'll go here and Project
X.
And there's Jocelyn with Little Miss Dangerous. You guys went through the whole Midwest area. When you first started doing this organization, did you see them, starting to grow? And you see, like, how proud are you seeing this group now becoming one of the top promotion companies in the United States?
Well, let me just say this, and I'm going to take a couple minutes to say this. I have known Elliot Miller as long as I've known the parents, and the parents took Elliot Miller under their wings when Elliot, I think, was still crapping his pants. I'm not sure, but he's probably still crapping his pants over all this excitement. But, I love you, Elliot. And I've watched Elliot grow from being a photographer to a videographer. He's made me some incredible promo DVDs. Yeah, that was in Houghton, right? Jocelyn Perrin. So, which is actually where I started my announcing illustrious careers. We needed an announcer, and so that's where I jumped in. And but let me tell you, Elliot Miller has got to be, off the top of my head, the most dedicated monster truck fan, monster truck enthusiast I've ever met in my life. And to this day, he is armpit deep in production, in producing shows, in promoting shows. His promotion company, Monster Truck Throwdown, like you said, is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, independent monster truck producing shows and promotions. I know he partners with a couple other promoters that they all get along really great, and they produce outstanding shows. And but back to Elliot, I couldn't be prouder of him. I really, he was such a nice boy, and he's grown into such an amazing man. I just couldn't be prouder, and I'm just happy to say that I've known little Elliot since he was little Elliot, and I'm proud of the fact that he still calls me Uncle Marky, and I love that. Not only does he say that, I made an impact and an imprint on his life, he should know that he made an impact and an imprint on mine too. These people are special in my life, and a lot of people say, it's family, it's a family. Well, you know what? That's no shit. It's a family, and it's still a family. Jeff Barron and I just talked last week after the Crush This aired, and we had a really nice conversation. And thanks you guys for having me on, because life takes over that 4-letter word, life, and we all have our own life. And I know Jeff and Jocelyn, they're heavily involved in Elliot's productions today. They're down in Florida right now watching, hopefully with Elliot, and it is a family, but life takes over. We get busy doing our own little stuff, and it's so great to reconnect with the family and the friends and the people that we know. And I know for a fact, traveling in my RV with my wife in the summertime, now that I'm retired, I've had issues. I think, okay, who do I know in South Dakota? Who do I know in Minnesota? Who do I know here? You go, yeah, I know these people. I'll give them a call. And, you have a problem on the road, and it's at that 6 degrees of separation, and all these people across the world. And how blessed am I to be able to have met and become friends with so very many people. How lucky am I? I am.
The cool thing with Elliot now that, he has his own trucks, he's driving in the All-Star Monster Truck Tour right now with High Tide, and Little Miss Dangerous is back with Athena. What do you think about, when you saw Elliot, get, Sinistar, and then now have 2 trucks, and has he ever been like, hey, you want to get back in the seat at some point?
No, and I'm grateful that he hasn't, because I'd had a hard time saying no to him. But here's what I think about Elliot and having these trucks now, is that Elliot is a little bit of a liar. Elliot, I'm catching you in a lie, because years ago you said you would never, ever own 1 monster truck in your life. No way. They're stupid. They're a pain in the ass. They're too much work. And how many does he own now? 3?
Yeah,
right?
two race trucks.
Got a ride truck and 2 race trucks. So never say never, Elliot. When's the next one coming out?
But
I'm not going to drive. I'm not going to drive for you on it.
But I saw this picture also, so it makes me want to ask about that. Doing the shows in the Midwest, Michigan area, Illinois,
right.
Iowa, stuff like that in the summertime when you're touring with Jocelyn and Jeff, and the Kohlers. You're doing all these Midwest monster truck shows. Man, just the camaraderie, like you said, just the vibe and everything, watching the video and stuff like that. Project X, I always forget, and Dave Reif, Michigan Reif,
right,
and like Rolling Thunder, man, that just gotta be awesome. The history of what you guys are I can't talk today. Sorry, creating.
You're all right.
Because of these highlight videos and stuff like that. I mean, considering everyone that's running together. Later on, Zimmer would join with Shock Therapy and all them, but you guys all ran in Monster Jam during the winter time. There was maybe a few trucks that didn't. Did you do the very first casino show, or were you part of that?
Yes. I did the casino show. I think for 2 years. I think I did 2 years there, if I remember right.
How was that idea of that casino over there in Mount Pleasant? It's became now one of the popular destinations in the summertime. Do you remember when they talked to you? And
your audio totally is failing, dude. It's all like pixelated and breaking up.
Oh no!
There you go.
Can you
there we
go.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the Mount Pleasant Casino Show. Do you remember when they talked to you about this event? And what did you think about it?
I thought it was amazing. I thought this is going to be so cool, and it was. I mean, the people at the casino, they treated us like rock stars. Of course, they comp you hotel rooms, they comp you meals, and they do all that stuff because monster truck guys love that stuff because we eat bologna and hot dogs, and so we get a good meal when we're on the road. But the show, we had a massive track And it wasn't near as big as far as obstacles and stuff go, like back then when it first started, because we just weren't doing that stuff. You'd be lucky to have a car stack, or a couple of van stacks. Now they've got this huge stuff out there that Elliot and the gang is building. But it was so much fun, and having that open air seating, people sitting on the hill up there, and again, a huge venue as far as size. And really, at that time, there was no seating, if I remember right. It was all just sitting on the hill, and it was just a huge party with 10,000 people as spectators, and they loved having us there. Here we are in a casino in the middle of sort of nowhere, Michigan, and wham, turns into a huge monster truck show. How fun!
Now, one thing I want to bring up, and it was about just over a year ago, I believe, you took a ride with a certain legend in the sport. Cheech is just bringing the pictures up now. We had the same thing to talk about Cheech, but there you are with Dennis Anderson in front of Extreme King Sling. How did all that come together?
Well, it's easy. I want to point out the guy on the left is my best buddy here down in Arizona. He's my next door neighbor, Craig Powell. Him and I do a lot of stuff together. I don't know who that fat guy is on the right. That's Dennis Anderson in the middle. And so here's how it happened. Jimmy Creighton and Two Extreme Promotions. They've been doing a couple shows last couple of years at the Fort Mojave Speedway in Arizona, which is just south of Laughlin, Nevada by about 35 miles, and it's about 22 miles north of where I live. And so I finally reached out to Jimmy and said, okay, I'm about ready to go to a monster truck show again after retiring, and because I hadn't been to any, and I knew he was going to be there and a couple other people I knew, and then I found out Dennis was going to be there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come up and come hang out with you guys. And so I got the inside scoop on how the King Sling deal went down and all that. I had a little inside information on it, but then I got the real scoop from the horse's mouth. And Jimmy and I were hacking up old times and having a great time visiting, and then Dennis showed up, and then it was oh man, all hell broke loose. It was just a blast. Dennis and I haven't seen each other, and I guess it probably was 4 years or maybe 5 years. So it was like old times, man. And Dennis is a man that remembers everybody that he's ever been in contact with, especially monster truck drivers. And so we had a great time visiting. And Jimmy came up to me, I don't know, sometime during that day. He goes, "Hey, you want to take a ride with Dennis and King Sling?" And I'm like, no. Not really. I'm not that great of a passenger, I'll tell you. My wife doesn't drive when we go places, and she's a good driver. It's just I'm a crappy passenger. I don't know if it's a control freak or I'm just used to driving, but whatever it is, I was like, I don't think so. And then I got up in the seat, and then that was like a hard no. And next thing I know, I'm suiting up in a fire suit and a helmet, and originally, my buddy Craig was going to take the ride. Craig is a retired police officer, but also a retired asphalt circle track racer, and he was always wanting to be a part of the monster truck stuff. And he moved next to me before we got a chance to involve him in it. And so Craig and I went for a ride, and then it was game on. I guess I was talking a little bit too much shit to Dennis, and we had fun, and we had a couple other jumps prior to that, and he told me, he says, this thing lands like a brick too. He says, it's really, really rough. I said, why don't you air this bitch out and get those shocks to do what they're supposed to do and get some suspension in the thing. I said, you're an old monster truck driver. You know how to drive a truck. And I guess that's all it took, because the next hit we took was a good aired out, nice long jump, and he come wheeling, hauling ass around the corner and lined up for that stack of cars. And I looked ahead, and in the back seat of that thing, you don't have great vision, which is good, because I probably would have had an accident in my fire suit had I known what we were doing. But he wheeled around that corner, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And we had communication inside the helmet, and I'm like, okay, boys, game on, here we go. And as soon as we launched off that stack, I went, oh shit, Dennis. And we landed, and I knew we were in trouble. And there was just no recouping that. He tried his hardest to recoup it, and we were over and upside down so damn fast, I don't think even any of us had time to blink. And so I had my nose down in the dirt, and Dennis was on top in the front, and Dennis had some colorful choice adjective to spew out of his mouth. And then everybody asked if we're all okay, and we're all okay. And then we started giggling and laughing like little schoolgirls, man. I never thought I never thought in a million years that I was going to ever get back in a monster truck again, let alone getting back behind the legend himself, Dennis Anderson, and riding as a passenger. And then we go upside down. So, my last ride, and we go upside down, and what a blast it was.
That
everything
picture
at
means
Dennis
a
here.
lot, I thought. That picture right there, I thought meant a lot right there with you two hugging and everything like that. I mean, just probably the adrenaline and everything that's going on.
Remember this, we're friends. We're personal friends. And, when you haven't seen your personal friend in years, and then you get a chance to see him, and then you get a chance to see him in his new cool truck, and then you get to go out and ride around and act a fool in it. I mean, gosh, again, so blessed, and what a life. And, not too many people can say that they rode with Dennis Anderson in a monster truck and rolled over. I believe I'm the only one that can say that besides Craig.
Well, this is for anybody that is going to eventually do the Dennis Anderson ride. Don't egg him on, because that's what happens. Because Dennis was probably as you're egging him on, Dennis is probably like, okay, time to turn on the old Dennis Anderson again.
A little peer pressure there from one of his fellow buddies and drivers talking crap and telling me he drives like a girl, and that's what happens. But yeah, I think Dennis learned his lesson there. He says, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you didn't plan that. So we laughed about it, and I went back to see him again on the next day, and Jimmy says, you want to go for a ride again? And I'm like, yeah, I do, except this time I'm gonna drive and Dennis is gonna be a passenger. Dennis declined. Jimmy said, I'm all in for it. He said, yeah, go talk to Dennis. Dennis says, hell no, you ain't driving me around. I just dumped your ass upside down yesterday. He said, I ain't letting you drive. No way.
Speaking about Jocelyn, she did pop up and she said, how about that show All Jacked Up with C. Thomas? Oh, well, we did a Berlin Raceway. Good times. It sounds like a story time with you, Mark.
That was with C. Thomas Howell, the movie star from The Outsiders with Rob Lowe and all those guys that were, the young, beautiful studs back then. And Tommy Howell wanted to do a drive a monster truck, and it was a show that only lasted a year or two. It was called All Jacked Up, and so they or we or whomever the powers be decided to let him drive Devastator. And so we taught him how to drive. Me and Jeff and Jocelyn and everybody else taught him how to drive monster truck, and we throttled him back a little bit. We put a throttle stop on him and let him drive over cars and do his TV show. And that was super cool. Working with a movie star, if you will, pretty famous guy, really nice guy, puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like we do. And he was super friendly. We had a lot of fun, had snacks and cookout and everything in the pits afterwards, and he had a blast, we had a blast. And again, it's just crazy, when you got into this business, you never think that you'd be able to do really cool stuff like that. So it's not, it can happen to anybody, just about hard work, and I never dreamt that this was going to happen to me, nor honestly I never aspired to that. I thought I was just going to go out and make some money racing and drive a monster truck. And then all those good things come when you least expect it. And, what a life. What a life.
And that's the truth. The monster truck industry can, give you some cool opportunities. I know for myself, I never expected that I'd get flown out to fully paid for trips so far, just because I have a knack for designing stuff on a computer. Look at Cheech, right. He's put in his time, doing, club help for Monster Jam, going to technical school, and now he's driving for one of the best teams in the industry.
For the creme de creme, man. Working for the Hall brothers, right?
This sport is so amazing, and just the different personalities that are in it, and just the lifelong friendships. That's why I love this sport so much, and I'll owe my design career to it, because heck, I'm just a dude from northern Alberta, Canada, where it gets negative 40 degrees like it was today, and people know who I am, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, look at what you guys are doing. Your success here, 10 years on your live show here, and crush this podcast and everything that you guys are doing. I mean, kudos to you guys for being, you're really the super fans and the superheroes of our sport, and you've helped promote the sport along with all your great sponsors and everything else. And I can't thank you enough, and I'm sure everybody else can't. thank you guys enough either for doing what you do. So thank you. You guys are awesome. Really.
Well, without you and our guests, without you guys saying yes to us and accepting taking, the leap of faith, let's just say, and relying on us on what we do thank you for everyone that does that, because
Yes.
Right
we
on.
don't know if you're gonna ask questions, and the questions that we ask could be awkward or anything like that. We don't want that. This is a positive vibe story. Right, but we just enjoy it, the ride itself. I mean, with the team that I'm on now, like Mark and Tim's Hall says, their mom said these trucks with big funny tires have take you places. Their big funny tire truck has take me to the national championship game, had take me to I'm going to the Super Bowl this weekend with a monster
Are you
truck.
really?
Yeah, which is crazy,
Gee,
very
that's
exciting.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
You
That's
go
super
and
exciting.
you do.
Down there in NOLA. It's a crazy place. What a stadium that place is. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, dude.
And going to all the state fairs, NASCAR events, and all this stuff just to help promote the sponsorship and stuff like that. It's very, very humbling and awesome to do that.
It is.
It's very humbling. For me, my last couple questions is about kind of the transition of you stepping down from monster trucks, giving your baby away, and now pretty much your baby's been taken care of pretty dang good. And it's still one
for sure
of the hardest running trucks out there in the United States, and it's still not a turnover truck. You know what I mean? I raced against, I think, Aaron in Devastator about 4 or 5 shows in 2023 when we were doing Insanity. And that truck just was, fast, and it was smooth, and it was all over the place, good wise. So 2000, I saw him, kind of transition driving your truck with Devastator in around 2018. So you're coming around, I think, you're 2016, 2017 type. When did you start slowing down and start thinking, okay, maybe need to hold, shift down the gears? And how did the opportunity come around for you to, you sold it to, you had a perfect sell. You could see a lot of monster truck teams that sell good equipment later down the road. It just became, they became
junk.
Excuse my French. Hammered,
beat up,
bad. You were very fortunate to do that. So how did that transition with the Basil brothers? Because they ran with David Smith, Pablo Huffaker, very good equipment. Prior to that, always a second truck to compare to Gravedigger, King Crunch, but they ran pretty good. So how did that all transition happen?
Well, and I knew that. So in 2016, 2017, I wasn't by choice slowing down. The good Lord Almighty decided to slow me down and had me do a little bit of health check. I had some health issues. I ended up having a bowel perforation by no fault of anyone's other than the fact that I got the lucky draw. And the short story of that was I had to have surgeries. I had to wear an ostomy bag. I had to have many surgeries. And I called Aaron from my hospital bed because I was actually leaving for a show in Globe, Arizona in September of 16 when that happened. And so I had to call the promoter from my hospital bed, tell him that I can't make the show. And I called my good friend Rod Wood and my very dear friend Jack Coburna, may he rest in peace. I love him dearly. And he said, I can't make it to the Globe show. I'm really sick. I'm in the hospital. I got to have surgery. They think I'm going to die, blah, 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 blah. Well, so I didn't die. Thankfully, the following week I had other obligations. I had a show in Phoenix at State Farm Stadium, and I couldn't get a hold of Aaron. I couldn't get a hold of him. I left messages, and he was my first choice, because I worked with him a lot with Pablo and David Smith stuff. And so I ended up having Jimmy Kohler's brother, Steve Kohler, come down. I flew him down and flew my buddy Bob flew his son Steven down from Milwaukee, and they took my rig and went down to fulfill my contractual obligations while I was in a hospital bed in Lake Havasu. And so I was forced into slowing down. So I had about a 6 to 8 month period there that I absolutely could not drive. I had contracts that I had to fulfill. And so Aaron called me the following week because he didn't get my phone calls because him and his future wife, Amy, were out on a hiking vacation out in the Rockies with no cell service. I presented my case to him. I said, I need somebody to come work for me, not come drive for a weekend. You're not going to be a fly-in driver. I need someone to come work for me. Are you interested? And he jumped at the chance. You know, again, Aaron and I were friends through Pablo and through all the shows we did. And Aaron actually moved in with me, left his fiance Amy back in Nebraska. He had a whole crap ton of stuff on his plate, and he jumped at the opportunity. And really, you know, pardon my French, he saved my effing ass. And he came out and he moved into my house with my wife and I, and we've got like a little casita mother-in-law type suite in our house. And Aaron lived here for a good solid 5 or 6 months. Amy came out to visit him, but Aaron worked for me, and I was in the shadows in the background. Aaron took over, and he said, I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to strain anything. I don't want you to rip your bag. I don't want you to rip your stitches and get another hernia, blah, blah, blah. And he took over for me, and then he went home, and I was apprehensive about driving come the first quarter. I had a whole first quarter season booked, and Aaron hired on again for that entire first quarter all the way up until from January until the 1st of June. And we were on the road living together in my rig. And then when we would come home, we would live together here. Aaron's easy to live with. And he's all business. You know, he's a lot of fun when we're off of work time. And when it came time to go to work, he'd be in the shop at 8 a.m. and he'd work there until the work was done. He didn't have set hours. His hours was, if we have to go to work early in the morning, I'll be there, but I'd like to start at 8 and I'll work until we have to quit, which may be 8 a.m. the next morning. So that's how it happened, guys.
Well, my last question is kind of just what do you want to say to the fans and just everybody that has supported you in your career? What do you want to say to them? That's kind of the last thing. There's the only thing that comes to mind.
So this is kind of like a Barbara Walters interview. You want to make me cry right before we leave? Is that it?
I still have questions left about how your talk with Aaron about, hey, do you want to?
Yeah, I didn't finish that.
Yeah.
So I'll get back to Brad. So I didn't finish that. My apologies. I was concerned we're rushed for time. So when it came time to sell,
this live episode,
we're good.
We can keep. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Go ahead.
Oh shit. All right, right on. Okay, well, I'll talk forever then. Cool. So moving on then, after I was able to drive again, Aaron went back to Nebraska, had to do that whole thing, getting married, start a family, build a house, build a shop, figure out what the hell he's going to do with his life, monster truck wise, and so on and so forth. And I fully intended, I never let the secret out, but I fully intended on retiring in 2010. I planned on running the first quarter season for Monster Jam from January until May, and I planned on my last show being in Salinas, California, and announcing my retirement at that time. So then we had this thing called COVID. And as I was leaving to go do my first show in Albuquerque, New Mexico in January, and literally pulling out of my driveway, and my phone rings, and it's Keith Speller from Feld Entertainment going, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm pulling out of the driveway." He said, "Stop, back up. We don't know what's going on right now." And now looking back, we know what happened. The whole first quarter was canceled. Everything was done. So I didn't get the opportunity to retire or announce my retirement in May in Salinas. And my intention was at that announcement was to put my truck up for sale publicly at that time. I didn't get that opportunity, and I decided I wasn't going to put it up for sale during that first quarter and during that 6-8 month period in 2010, because I didn't want it to look like, oh, COVID is here. We lost all our shows. He's got to sell his truck. He's got to get out. And because that wasn't the case.
2020 was a bad timing.
Yeah. So it was just bad timing. It just sucked all around. And, my wife and I talked about it and said, we're not going to put it up for sale. We're not going to worry about the retirement. We're just going to lay low and figure things out and see where the chips fall. And that's what we're going to do. And so my wife and I were taking a trip actually to Yellowstone that's following fall because COVID canceled our annual trip to Hawaii. And we couldn't do that because of COVID. So we went to Yellowstone. And for the first time ever, I took the monster truck motorhome, the toter home, on a trip other than going to a monster truck show. And we went up to Yellowstone with that. We pulled our Jeep and used that as our daily driver for a couple of weeks. And we said, man, we're really having a lot of fun with this. And lo and behold, Aaron Basil calls. We're on our way home and driving down I-15 somewhere between Salt Lake City and Las Vegas. And we're shooting the shit, having a great time and visiting, catching up because we hadn't talked in a couple of weeks. And he said, so anyway, we were talking about the truck. And he said, so what are you going to do with the truck? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to sell it eventually, or I'm going to give it away, or I'm going to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I haven't decided. And he said, well, I would like to be, if you don't have one already, I'd like to be the first to say, I'd like first dibs on it. And I'd like for you to consider me if you can. And so that started the ball rolling. And I didn't want to sell it to just anybody, like you had made a comment before, geez, I didn't want to sell it to anybody. And, I wanted someone that was going to take care of it. I didn't want to give it to somebody that wasn't going to take care of it. I wanted it to be taken care of like I took care of it, like you said, my baby. And, that was important to me. And Aaron was important to me. His goals in life were important to me. And he reminded me of myself when I was 30 years old instead of him being, 38 or 40 at the time. And so then one thing led to another. And Aaron and I talked, we worked out a deal and decided that he was going to take over the entire operation and I was going to step aside. And so that's what we did. And Aaron's been doing great for the last 4 years and change and doing a great job. And he had a learning curve. He had to, he was never an owner operator. So that was really challenging for him. And now he's got to pay the bills, where when he worked for David Smith and traveled all over the country. And when he worked for Feld with David Smith stuff, and traveled all over the country. When he worked for Pablo with Pablo stuff and traveled all over the country, he never had the financial responsibility. So, we had great talks about that. And, he said, will you help me? Will you give me tips? Will you give me pointers? I said, absolutely. You're friends, you're my buddy. And so that's what we did. We worked together and, hopefully I answered all of his questions over the years, and whether I did or didn't, it's probably by no help of me, but he's turned into a successful monster truck owner operator, and I couldn't be prouder of him, for sure.
So what are you doing now after
that's how that
retiring
happened.
monster trucks? What are you doing now after monster trucks?
Well, let's see. Today, I replaced the motor on my spot-free pressure washer that I use to wash all my toys, so I don't have to dry them with a squeegee and a chamois. I designed this little spot-free pressure washer, but like every good monster truck driver, I ended up blowing up the motor on my pressure washer, so I had to fix that today. I had some pretty big welding projects last week for one of my buddies in the neighborhood, and I keep myself very busy. I get to spend some even more quality time with my wife, Sue, and we get to travel in our RV in the summertime. We try and take a 2 or 3 month long trip and get out of the heat here in Arizona and take a trip either up north or back east. This summer, we're not gonna escape the heat. We're gonna go back to the southeast and head over to the East Coast, and we're going to be right in the heart of the humidity, which I hate the most. But you know what? That's what air conditioning's for. I'm on the road, still seeing the country. People used to say, "Oh, it's so nice. You get to drive, 50,000 miles a year in your rig. You get to see the country." It's like, yeah, in the dark. You never saw the rig. Cheech. You're not doing a lot of daytime driving, and if you are, you're busy driving. You're not sightseeing and stopping at the world's largest peanut. In Jimmy Carter's hometown. You're busy. You're on the road, and so now we didn't take any trips road trip wise. We did a lot of flying the last 3 years, or the first 2 or 3 years, and then now we're starting to do some road trips, and we're taking backcountry roads, pulling our RV, and really having a great time. And I'm living life. I'm blessed every day. And
one fella,
go ahead,
Keith Volt
yes,
said,
Keith
Mark,
Volt.
when we used to do our Track X shit pre-show, or shit pre-show, how we opened it really go to the fans and some other attention.
Yeah. So what he's talking about there is that we did a track explanation at for a couple of years there for Monster Jam, and every show that I was at with Keith Vogt, who also again became a great friend of mine. We still are in contact today, almost weekly, and and look at him with his powder coating business and everything's doing with RCs and everything else. I mean, it's just so freaking cool. But Keith was always one of the track officials, and because my truck would do those badass power wheelies, we would come out and do a little dog and pony show of introducing, how starting line would work, and how you didn't want to do and did want to do. And so I would come out and do one of those, sick power wheelies on those good clay tracks, and it really jacked the crowd up. And that was before the event even started. So it was a ton of fun. Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Brad's last question about what was it again?
Just what you would like to say to the fans and stuff like that. That was kind of my last thing.
The fans. Well, again, cliche. It's not cliche. It's factual. It's straight up truth. If it weren't for the fans, and you guys can attest to this, because not only are you fans of monster trucks and RC cars and everything you do, you have fans that are involved in Crush This podcast. And if it weren't for those people watching your show, your show would kind of not do much. Nobody'd know anything about it. So honestly, the fans and our number one, that Bon Jovi song, I've seen a million faces and I've rocked them all. Well, I probably haven't rocked them all by any means, but I've definitely seen a million faces. And I want those people that I've seen, even the nameless, faceless people, with all due respect, when you see 30,000 people in the stands, you don't recognize every single person. Every single one of those people made a difference in my life. Every single one of those people made a huge impact on my life, and they allowed me to chase a dream and to chase a career that I really never had any interest in doing. I was a drag racer. I got into monster trucks, thought it was going to last 3 to 5 years and it would be a fad and it was over, and I'd have to find another high performance venue to go out and play and get my fix in, And oh, by the way, some of my fix, I do a lot of off-road riding, Cheech. I have a great side-by-side that I've built, and I do a lot of off-road riding out here in the desert and around the country.
So
but the fans, I do that, and that's probably what's keeping me out of the seat of somebody else's truck, because I still get my fix. But and not only the fans, the people that gave me opportunities. Stand by. A man by the name of George Eisenhart gave me an opportunity and let me in his family of monster trucks. And George became a dear friend of mine until he was tragically killed doing what he loved to do most. Guys by the name of Ed Beckley, guys by the name of the Darnell family. Even back in the day, old Torgerson, gave me a shot. I was a newcomer. I wasn't shit. And these people gave me an in, whether it was because they knew they could take advantage of me or what, but I proved my worth, and nobody ever bitched at me. And I always worked hard to make everybody happy. And those people that gave me a lot of extra start and let me go out and entertain these people, whether it was 50 below in Duluth, Minnesota, and that wasn't wind chill, that was the damn temperature, or 110 degrees somewhere else in the desert. We got to entertain fans, and I didn't know I was an entertainer. I was just a monster truck driver that was having fun. And these people that do get the opportunity to this day come up to me and say, you made a huge impact on my life. And I don't know how that's possible. I mean, I don't know how I can make an impact on people's lives. I'm grateful that they tell me that, and I'm grateful that God has given me the ability to make an impact on people's lives and to make people happy. And, they spend their money and they spend their time and they take their kids and their grandkids and their moms and dads and everything to do these shows. And I just never thought it was going to come to that. And, and then being able to work for what's the largest promotion company in the world, U.S. Auto Association with Charlie Mancuso, and then have it go to Feld Entertainment and have guys like Bill Easterly and Keith Speller put put their trust in me, and they believed in me, and they coached me. They trained me. Mike Wales, Peggy Wales, all these people, Keith Vogt, all the track people, Kevin Mathis, all these people that, I can't believe I'm remembering these names because I suck at names. Like I said, I don't even know what frickin' day it is half the time. That's the beauty of being retired, by the way. You don't have to know what day it is. And the blessings are just incredible. It's amazing, from all the work that I've done. I couldn't thank all the people that I've come in contact with, and every single one of them was good. All my connections with all the people and all the people and the friends and the contacts and the acquaintances that I met. Holy shit, who knew? And that, not me, man. I never would have known that.
These big
to have lifelong friends.
Truck, funny tire vehicles takes you everywhere.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing. Blows my mind. Blows my mind to this day. It's just badass. I really love it. You're making me miss it a little bit. I got a friend here again. Here's a fine example. State Farm Stadium this weekend. Monster Jam is in outside of Phoenix in Glendale, State Farm Stadium, and one of the security personnel that worked for Feld and then went somewhere else and now apparently is back working for Feld, Andrew Bernardi. I hope he doesn't get mad I said his name, but he reached out to me unexpectedly. Today's Tuesday, yesterday. Said, hey man, what are you doing? I'm going to be in Glendale this weekend. What do you say you coming down? It'll be like old times. We'll have a great time. I'm like, well, it's a 4-hour drive. I have a busy retired schedule, which is true. I don't know how I got all the shit done that I got done to get through life, because I can't hardly get anything done or as much as I want to get done, being that I'm retired. I think I have more hobbies now than I ever had. So, but I'm going racing this weekend. I'm going circle jerk racing. I'm going circle track racing to our local track this weekend. A very good friend of mine who lives in our neighborhood, who's been a lifelong asphalt racer, is coming out of retirement once again. And he's going to go out there and see if his 70-year-old skills are still up to these young bucks, and I'm sure they are. So we're going to go out and support him this weekend, and I'm going to do my best to stay out of his way and keep his windshield clean, So I won't make it down to Monster Jam in Phoenix as much as I would have loved to have seen Andrew and some of the guys that are down there. The Pagliarulos are going to be there, and I'd love to go see those trucks and those people, but I can't this weekend. I got a prior obligation with a circle jerk, respectively.
But dude, Mark, it has been such an amazing episode to have you on again. If people want to, contact you, ask you a question, where can people follow you at?
Well, I don't, like I said before, I don't do really any social media. I have my personal Facebook account, and from time to time people do message me on there. I'm a little digitally handicapped. It's amazing that Cheech, you were able to walk me through this, and all I had to do was push 2 buttons, one the on button and the other one join this link to even be on your show here 2 times in a row. So it's amazing I was able to succeed at that and get the proper lighting. So yeah, right. One thing at a time, So yeah, I don't really do that stuff and Instagram and all that stuff, or otherwise, I spend too much time, according to my wife, on Facebook Marketplace looking for shit that I don't need to buy. And so she says, you don't need Instagram.
Well, there's a lot of people
on Facebook. But I
Facebook.
thank them all.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on Facebook that can.
There is.
So note to self, if you want to get a hold of Mark, just sell something on Marketplace. And if it's interested in him, he may hit you up.
You never know. You never know.
Right.
Hey, I want to do a shameless, not a shameless promotion, kind of a serious thing. A nice young man here that has been a lifelong Monster Truck and Monster Jam fan. His name is Clayton Elsey. I believe he's watching. He lives in Lake Havasu City, and him and his dad became friends of mine here. When I moved out here 15 years ago, his dad's name is Jeff, and he's an awesome dad, and he's got a great kid, Clayton. And Clayton has had some health issues in the last year or so, and I don't really know what they are, but I know he's struggling to get through them physically. And, he's a great guy. He's a great kid. He's a great dad. And, I want him to know I love him, and I'm praying for him for his well-being. I talked to him last night, and he said, thank you. And I'm feeling much better. He's out of the hospital. So that's a good thing. So a shout out to you, Clayton, my friend. I hope you're doing well, buddy.
Awesome. We'll get well there. We'll room for you.
Right on.
So,
Yeah, thanks, you guys. I know you are.
Yeah, but
So
Brad,
you guys got me jazzed up here. I've Cheech, unbeknownst to you and Brad, I see your stuff on Facebook, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't tune into it primarily because I'm digitally handicapped. It did, if you remember here a couple of weeks ago, I asked you how I can watch it because I didn't know how to get on it, and you had to tell me. And it's fun to see these, some of these old farts like me that you guys are having on, and some of the newcomers, and it's awesome to see what you're doing in the monster truck world, both of you independently from each other, and what you're doing with this Crush This podcast. Holy shit, 10 years. That says a lot, guys. Congratulations. Really. It says a lot.
That means a lot, Mark. And, it's crazy to think, just a random idea that I had working at Party City during Halloween would have turned into this. And, if it wasn't for Cheech, Cheech has been a huge part of the backbone of this podcast. And, it's just, it boggles my mind that a dude from, West Virginia and a dude from Canada that used to play online video games together created this, and we're doing it for 10 years, and it's so cool, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And your words, that means a lot to me. That it makes me so proud of the thing that we have created.
You should be, really. By the way, you said, what was it, like 40 degrees, minus 40 or something where you live?
Yeah, it was this morning. Let
Lord
me
have mercy.
find it. Yeah. Where is it here?
that's Don Frank's.
Well, I'll just tell you while you're looking for that.
That was this morning.
Okay, minus 30 degrees, 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, I don't have it on my phone because, I have problems. But today, while I was fixing my deionizing water pressure washer, I did get a chance. I get my side-by-side wash, and I got my Jeep and my little hot rod truck washed off today. And it was sunny, and it was 82 Fahrenheit, and my face is red because I got sunburn. My hardly any hair left. My scalp got sunburned, and my shoulders from wearing a tank top got sunburned. Good thing I had longer pants on, or I would have burned knees. So I feel for you, brother.
So 82 degrees Fahrenheit is plus 27, almost plus 30, and that's usually like a nice summer
you'd
day
be dying.
for us. Yeah. Like it gets
February 4th. Yeah.
It gets like January, like a few weeks ago, I was wearing a t-shirt basically and shorts outside because it was that mild here. And now it's like, I don't want to go outside. Luckily, I don't have to work in this weather right now. So I'm a very happy man because I work outside usually.
Oh God, Mother Nature, she be crazy.
Mother Nature can be annoying, but Cheech, any social media that people can follow you at, and where you're going to be doing displays with the Hall Brothers team?
Well, you can follow Daniel Cheech Agosh on Facebook, MT_Daniel Agosh 28 on Instagram. Also, I have a TikTok too. I don't know. Also, Crush This, follow it on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We also have a TikTok on that too. Go take a look at that stuff. Also, that's pretty much my social media. This weekend, I'm taking the truck that I drive, number 9's Hall Brothers truck, to the Super Bowl for a display. Pretty interesting wrap. Can't tell. You'll find out about it Sunday. And that's gonna be pretty cool.
The only reason I'm gonna watch, just looking for that truck. That's the only reason I'm gonna watch the Super Bowl. I'm gonna watch it all for today. In hopes I see your truck there on display, even if it's for a snippet of 1 second. I'm gonna see that freaking truck.
All right. Well, hopefully people will see it. It'll probably be on. It's right now. On television more than any other truck on public television. Not talking about MAV TV. Right. I mean, the the truck was also on ESPN and ABC for the national championship game. So I mean, it
crap!
sticks out a little bit. So and also going to be at Tulare. Actually, the week after, I'll be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, crewing for the Brothers for Monster Jam. Then going to be at Tulare. And
Hey, Brad, can you hear that? Can you hear when Cheech's audio?
Cheech, are you still?
Brad's
Do you
frozen
still have,
too.
no? Do you still have Frontier for your internet, Cheech?
Yeah, I do. Why am I going off and on?
You were for a second. Can you hear us now?
Yeah,
you guys are hanging me
on. I can hear you guys.
We hear you, Mark. We got you.
You guys are both frozen, and your audio is garbled bad.
Oh.
Unintended.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. I'm doing
my check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Niner.
Well,
it's
been fun. I'll come back again.
Yeah,
y'all can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Live television.
Gotta love it. But anyway, I'm going to Pittsburgh, and then that's it for pretty much.
The TikTok czar.
Going to pick up a rig in Tulare, and then go from there. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yikes.
And you could follow me at the Only Monster Truck Canucker on Instagram. You can check me out, Bradley Shaw Designs. I got my website up and running again, so bradleyshawdesigns.com. Been busy with my day job recently, so I haven't had much time to work on any designs. But with it being so cold, I'm not really out on the field right now. So
there you are.
Kind of getting back at it. But yeah, just thank you guys for all the love and support on the podcast. Next week, as Cheech said earlier, it is our part 2 with Mike Welch. Definitely going to be another awesome conversation with Mike. Excited for that one, man. Cheech.
Yes, I am. Hopefully we can hear more stories and everything like that, and it'll be pretty exciting. So I'm ready for that.
Can you hear us there, Mark?
So I'm curious, you guys.
Yeah,
I can hear you. So yeah, you were back. So like, are you aware that you had like a minute and a half there, which seemed like 16 hours to me, that you guys, your videos were frozen and your voices were garbled? Are you aware of that on your end, or is it just me that hears that? And is it your listening audience that hears that as well?
I think that was on your end.
Okay.
Because we could still hear you and see you and everything like that. So I'm not.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Wi-Fi.
Sure what happened there?
Okay. Well, as long as everything that you wanted to promote went through, I just want to let you know that I didn't hear it, but as long as your fans hear it and people watching the podcast hear it, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful, guys.
Before we head out, as always, mental health is a very important thing. Check up on your friends and family. If you're struggling or going through anything, please message somebody. There are hotlines for you to, if you're thinking about doing the unthinkable, there are hotlines to call or text. We need you here on this earth. Go to more monster truck shows. You know what I do if I'm sad? I put on monster trucks and my wife gets pissed at me, but monster trucks make me happy. So it's worth it.
Yeah, man. You couldn't say it better, Bradley. We need each and every one of you people on this earth, and have faith that we do. Reach out to a friend. If you don't think that you have any friends, reach out to a stranger. We need you here. We want you here, and you deserve to be here. So please don't ever think about doing the unthinkable. Reach out for help.
Yeah. Yes, and also donate blood. If we do that a lot too, Matt Schultz had a situation about 2-3 years ago. Someone around the world right now may have a certain type of blood situation or loss of blood or something like that really affects them. You can save their life. I mean, you don't have to meet them physically.
You can.
You can save their life. Brad Shipper, he owns a truck called Against the Grain, which was Doug Noki's old big dog monster truck. He had a form of leukemia, and a lady from Poland donated blood, and he never met her, but he's been pen paling back and forth and talking and stuff like that. So, that it's before you know it, they would come around and help you out. So please do get your Central Blood Bank, United Red Cross, anywhere that needs the blood that you need to help out and whatnot. So, and also it's still winter time, folks. If you have any stray animals, dogs that live outside your backyard or anything, bring them in. It's not just a Christmas thing. It's a winter thing. Bring them in. They need a place to keep warm. Cats needs a warm. They're part of your family.
And they need a place to stay cool. In the summer, they need a place to be cool when it's too hot in the southern part of Arizona where I live. So please take care of each other. Please be good to one another. And always look out for each other, your friends and your neighbors, and just show nothing but love and kindness, man.
Yeah. Yes. Words to live by. Love and kindness will take you very far. It's okay to say hello to someone. You just never know what situation they get. Never know what situation you get they got themselves into. You may save their life. So
that's right. Yep.
Brad.
All right.
Roll it out.
All right, guys. As we have said since day one, 10 years of the podcast, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.